My name's Lohren, and I teach at Belfair. I've written a couple books, and a lot of you have read the book, and we're discussing one aspect of them today, which is the shoulders being open. Let me initially explain to you how I got into shoulders being open. As a college player and pre-college player, I was always criticized by a few of my friends that I was aiming to the right and my shoulders were closed. And I'd hit a sweeping hook unless I made a swing where I blocked it right to the right. Most of the characteristics of my good shots were sweeping hooks. Too much hook. And my shoulders were closed, and I took the club to the inside too quick and then swung too much inside out and didn't get enough torque in my swing. So I went through a lot of trials and errors to try to correct that problem of aiming to the right and having the shoulders closed. Well, one time in 1957, I was caddying for Bob Toski and the Eastern Open, which is no longer being played. And he left the course about 2 o'clock, and I went and watched Jay Abair take a lesson from his brother Lionel. Lionel was a PGA champion, and Jay was a stylist, and he hadn't won the PGA yet. I was sitting on a bench watching Lionel teach Jay, and Lionel said to Jay, "Jay, it's all wrong." And Jay dropped his club and looked at him. I thought it looked pretty good. Lionel said, "Jay, your shoulders are to the right, they're closed. Why don't you do what Hogan does?" And my ears perked up because he was addressing the issue that was frustrating me. He said, "Why don't you do what Hogan does?" Hogan starts more left than he needs to be, or more open than he needs to be, steps in, puts the club down, takes a stance, he closes up, and he's left with a little bit of open. So let's say he starts half open, facing the target and the ball, and after he closes his stance from that position, he ends up a quarter open or an eighth open. So he starts more open than he needed to be, gets his body square, and he's still a little bit open. So I thought, man, that's great. So I watched him demonstrate that, and it led me into what I teach, and I watched Ben Hogan do it, and I kind of copied his pre-shot routine where he did exactly what Jay learned from Lionel, and I watched Palmer do a very strong version of it. And most players in those days did go in with the right foot first, which precludes you from being to the right or closed. The reason why the shoulders should be open is that the right hand is anterior or out further than the left hand. So the right shoulder should be out further than the left shoulder, and also lower, okay? To maybe find out how to get into this position, stand with your feet square, take a grip with your right hand, take a grip with your left hand without it being on the club. Put your hands opposite each other, and then keeping both arms relatively the same length, extend your right down a little bit and pull your left up a little bit, and you will find your shoulders open. And then grab the club in that position. Another way would be to clasp your palms on both shoulders and rotate your right shoulder down a little bit towards your left foot, and your left shoulder up a little bit away from your left foot, okay? And that will throw you into an open position. Then let your arms dangle from your shoulders being in that position and hold the club, okay? That'll put you open. And if you look in a mirror, like you're shooting at the mirror, you should be able to see your right pec and a little bit of your right arm in front of your left arm, and you should see some of your right pec. And your hips should be less open than your shoulders in a square stance, but nevertheless a little open, with the right knee maybe a couple inches in front of the left knee. The advantages to this are that, number one, when you're in an open position, if you've been a follower of mine, I believe that the turn ought to start with the left shoulder. And if you're open, the left shoulder's got somewhere to go. If you're not open, the left shoulder doesn't have somewhere to go, and it's hard to start with it. Number two, if you're open, the club will start straight away, or what they say on TV today is your hands will stay in front of you rather than getting behind you too early. As you can see, if I'm open, the club starts away in a nice wide arc without going to the inside. If I'm not open, when I turn, the club goes inside too quick and I get a narrow arc. Number two, if the shoulders are open, the waist is open, so when I turn with the shoulders first, before the waist moves, I've got the waist facing this way, and I'm turning this way, and the back, lower left side of the back gets recruited early, and that's the force that drives your legs forward and keeps you from hitting from the top. Number 3, because the right hand's lower than the left hand, there is a tilt there, and the top of the spine, when there's a tilt, is a little bit right of center when the shoulders are open. If you took this same correct tilt and squared your shoulders up, the top of the spine would be too far to the right, and then if you moved with the left shoulder, if you could, it would move you off the ball. So your spine gets more centered if you're open with your shoulders, but nevertheless still about 1 inch to the right of center. So early torque, a correct balance in your body due to a correct spine position, an extended radius, and an easier start with the left shoulder are all good reasons why you should be approximately 17 degrees open with the shoulders, which is the distance that these 3 fingers are in front of these 4 fingers. Having said that, I wish you a lot of luck with this, and I hope you can keep it in the fairway. Thank you.